the Sherwood Industries beautiful Sherry Cup machine, that Chassis Dynamics built race car. Meanwhile, things are starting to tense up a bit. Previously, by now, we would have been into green flag competition. But now they're calling the field to tighten up and go around one more time. A Curtis Inu is lap number 2, will be brought to us by Herb and Gary and Ken, the number 1 racing fans. Hoosier Tire brings us lap number 3, and we'll be updating you on that throughout the 80 laps of competition during this prestigious Sizzler event. The West Hartford tool and die machine. Outside of him, Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer. He won a non-qualifiers event, and he is running exceptionally hot this season. He's a former winner of the Pocono KM2 Race of Champions event. But don't count out that second row. Tony Siscone, outstanding short track driver, and Marty Radwick. Side by side, evenly matched. The pace is much slower than we anticipated, as we are about to see the field unleashed off the 4th turn. This is the greatest race in the history of spring. These are the nation's leading NASCAR Winston modified competitors. 2 by 2, evenly matched like poetry. They come down to the line. The green flag is out, headed for turn 1. It looks like Spencer's got it on the high side.
Jimmy Spencer runs in deep into turn number 1, but Gregor's not about to give anything up. They're side by side off the second turn. Spencer gets the bite. He makes a move on the outside and takes over the lead. Marty Radwick also making a move up on the outside of car number 36. Unable to do so, he drops back in. We're about to complete the very first lap with Jimmy Spencer in the lead.
Jimmy Spencer picks up $25 from Fine Line Speed and Fabrication. Stan Gregor runs in second. Third spot's Marty Radwick. Fourth is the number 14 of Tony Siscone. And moving to the outside like gangbusters is Carl Bugsy Stevens. Stevens is on the move on the outside of the Miller Time machine. Keep your eyes on Stevens. He is getting hooked up on the high side here in the early goings in this Sizzler event.
Remember, Bug Stevens set second fast time yesterday, and he is within striking distance of the leaders as Jazambek gets up into the marbles in turn 1 and drops back 5 positions in the Rulin Electric number 5. Jimmy Spencer continues to set the pace off of turn 4.
Into the back of the pack, you see that Richie Evans and Bob Povereri has their hands full as they're trying to head to the front in the early going. 3 laps are showing in the Winston Racing Series scoreboard. Here comes Carl Bugsy Stevens. We told you that car could hooch up on the outside, but just as we said that, he moved to the inside. Stevens is running on rails. That beautiful Bob Garbarino Mystic Missile is really dialed in, but here comes the Miller Time machine.
Up on the outside of Stevens, it was Ruggiero for just a few moments, but he's not about to give up anything as he pulls up alongside through turns 1 and 2. Stevens able to edge ahead just a little bit down the backstretch now. They're single file from one end of the speedway to the next. Car number 24, Jim Spencer, leads the pack off the 4th turn. Will cross the stripe, lap number 5 for Big D's novelty booth. $25 once again for Spencer.
As they head into turn number 2, Jimmy Spencer, Mr. Excitement, has led the first 5 circuits. He's picked up some bonus money and lap sponsorship money. Stan Gregor currently sets in second. Marty Radwick knocks on his back door. Third is Tony Siscone. Fourth is Carl Bugsy Stevens. Fifth looks to like the number 44 of Reggie Ruggiero is Jeff Fuller. Jamie Tomato, Charlie Jazambek follow in single file. Nose to tail, bumper to bumper. Jamie Tomato tries to put some pressure on the 2X, and Spencer still leads him. Here comes Marty Radwick. He's got the Ralph Solom race car really looking impressive down low. The number 44 moves underneath Carl Bugsy Stevens. It appears that Stevens might be hung out to dry on the outside, even though it could be a momentarily move. Here comes the Miller Time 44 of Ruggiero to contend, but Stevens gets the bite down the back straight away.
As the field is stretched out single file, virtually from one end of the racetrack to the other, that was the only real side-by-side battle we had going. Lap number 6, sponsored by Corey Pasacco, Marty Stafford Motos for lap number 7. Lap number 8, which we are in right now, sponsored by Ryan Pasacco. All lap money thus far has gone to car number 24 for Jimmy Spencer. Crossing the line for lap number 9 will be Franz Mobile, and Versa Graphics Discount Trophy will have lap number 10.
As they head into turn number 1, it is still a single car battle for that number 1 position. Running nose to tail stacked up nicely. They head impressively out of that second turn. Your lead automobile is still the 24 of Jimmy Spencer. Stan Gregor still sets in second. Marty Radwick still third. Tony Siscone is in the 4th spot now. As Brett Bodine is trying to work his way back into contend, it appears the Sherry Cup machine has some type of a mechanical problem, the same type of problem that might have plagued him in the initial start.
It certainly does appear that way, and we have a black flag issued to National Regional Champion Richie Evans as smoke comes out from under the hood of car number 61. Evans, obviously in serious mechanical problems, pulls that car down onto the apron and will take it into the pit area.
You know, when we look back at last year's Spring Sizzler, the only individual that ever to pit in the event and come back to win it was Greg Sack. Richie Evans is going to go to the pits. He has definitely smoke pouring out of the automobile, which is an indication that there is some type of a leak, possibly a power steering pump or something, and that's going to cost him some very valuable laps. Tough break for National Modified champion Richie Evans.
Certainly, as he takes that Omaha orange number 61 into the pit area, and continues to show the way around. Lap number 11, sponsored by Riverdale Chrysler Plymouth. Number 12 from JR Promotions. 13 from Presto Hartford Incorporated. And lap number 14, the Assabet Valley Auto Parts Store and Girardi's Automotive Machines will bring us lap number 50.
A lot of bumper tagging out there, but there is just the hottest competition we've seen anywhere in the country. Car number 24 sets the pace off that fourth turn. Jimmy Spencer just racking up those dollar signs as he continues to ring down the cash register. But the real battle seems to be between the four of Carl Bugsy Stevens and Reggie Richard.
Top 10 and
trouble now erupting into turn number 1. Liquid all over the racetrack. Leo the Lion Clary's number 48, Bob Pulveri's number 711. And it appears like the 71 possibly of John Rosati. And another yellow car underneath the Bob Pulveri machine. And that, we believe, is the number 26 of George Kent. It appears that an engine erupted and let go in that first turn area. The cars heading into that turn at a speed of close to 100 miles an hour got sliding on the oil. As we can see, some extensive damage with the Pulveri machine setting on top of the car that we believe is the George Kent number 26. Leo the Lion Clary's car also coming to rest.
Leads the field. Stan Greger runs in second. Marty Radwick is third. The field begins to pick up the pace. The green flag comes out side by side. Greger and Spencer. Spencer gets the bite on the bottom of the racetrack, and he picks up the lead once again as Greger now tucks in and drops in for that second spot.
Jimmy Spencer once again has the lead. Tony Siscone works his way to the outside of Marty Radwick. Greger falters just a bit. Siscone is all the way up to third. The Welch Farm Racing Enterprises Raceworks machine holds on to that number 3 position. Marty Radwick drops back to the 4th spot. Cookman is trying to work his way to the top 10 on the outside. He cannot get the job done. It is Jimmy Spencer still holding on with car 24.
A big move made on that restart by Jeff Fuller in car number 2X. He now sits right on the bumper of Carl Bug Stevens with Jamie Tomeno behind him. Mike Stefanik follows next, followed by McLaughlin, Cookman, Pasteryak, and Miller. Off the 4th turn, once again, 19 laps show on the scoreboard. It is still Spencer. However, on the bottom side of the racetrack, Stan Greger makes a move inside of Spencer. Up the backstretch, they're side by side. It is Greger into the turn ahead of Spencer, but Spencer makes a move on the outside. They're wheel to wheel, door handle to door handle. Spencer is sideways off the turn, and Greger picks up the lead.
Stan Greger leads him into turn number 2. The West Hartford Tool and Die machine is out in front, but here comes Tony Siscone. Siscone puts the hammer down. He tries to pressure to take over that number 2 spot. Spencer looks for the back bumper of the West Hartford Tool and Die machine as they head off the 4th turn. Spencer is not going to give up easily.
He certainly isn't, but Stan Greger knows the way around this racetrack. He is a former feature winner here. In fact, he picked up one of the most popular wins in the history of the Speedway just last season, and he sits on top of the heap right now. A new challenge from Spencer, however, as he looks to the low side of the 36. He's unable to make that move underneath. He has to drop back in, single file off the 4th turn. It is still Stan Greger leading this race, the greatest race in the history of spring at the Stafford Motor Speedway. 22 laps are down in this 80-lap event.
Keep your eyes on Jimmy Spencer now. He is reeled in right in the back bumper of the Ben Dodge & Sons machine off that 4th turn. Spencer knows that he's got to get back up in front. He is losing that valuable lap money, which is now going to Stan Greger. Running in that number 2 spot, Jimmy Spencer. Third seems to be a hot spot currently on the racetrack. The Welch Farms machine
tucks it right back onto it again off the 4th turn. Another interesting thing way back in the field. Car number 12, the Sherwood Industries ride for Brett Bodine, is on the move. He is now up alongside of Brian Ross, and Brett Bodine is trying to make up a lot of valuable time. Car number 44 for Reggie Ruggiero, also way in the back of the pack, trying to move up, as is Kenny Bouchard and Charlie Jazambek.
They are having their own little battle way in the back of the pack there, and what a battle it is, as those front-running competitors have been plagued with misfortune and hard times. Corky Cookman is back in that battle with the number 8 of Magic Shoes, Mike McLaughlin. 29 laps are showing on the scoreboard. Off the 4th turn, it still remains Greger, followed by Spencer. Siscone running in the 3rd position. 4th spot is Marty Radwick. 5th spot is the 4 of Carl Bugsy Jesse Stevens. Now Marty Radwick puts a move down underneath the Raceworks, number 14. Radwick moves down low. The Pontiac 2000 Sunbird is putting the pressure on the Olds Forenza as they dive deep into the turn. Gregor's still got the lead. Spencer is at it sideways off the fourth turn. Gregor leads him on lap 31.
Speaking of being
Trouble out
sideways,
in the turn. We've got a massive pileup. The Frenchie's number 6 machine, the Brett Bodine number 12, the 5 of Charlie Jazambach between turns 3 and 4, the 61 of Richie Evans, the 10 of Falcone, and the 4X of Peter Schwartz. Everybody very luckily pulls away. As we see now, it appears that there is no severe damage done to any of the automobiles, but also in the pits at this time as the wrecker, the Scranton Motor Sales wrecker, assists and hitches up to car number 12. Meanwhile, Mike Stefanik moves along the inside of your front row runner, Stan Gregor, with car number 36. The Stefanik machine looks to head back to the pit area. Kind of an interesting story going on behind the scenes, that the number 36 car that Stan Gregor is driving is the original car that was owned and driven by Jimmy Spencer some 4.5 years ago. This race car was purchased by Ben Dodge & Sons back about 3 seasons ago as a Pinto, and they tried everything to try to get the car to run up front. Last season they pulled one feature event win off. They sold the car to West Hartford Tool and Die, bought it back just 2 weeks ago from Larry and Barbara Moore, who decided that they'd rather be a sponsor of the car than the owner. So it is kind of an interesting story goes along there. They weren't even going to bring the car to the Sizzler weekend. The number 24, Jimmy Spencer. Now, pit action is going to be a deciding factor in this event. We've seen so many of the front-running cars go into the pits. They are going to be changing a tire on the number 36 machine. It looks like a right rear tire on the West Hartford Tool and Die entry. Jacking up the automobile at this time, Peter Schwartz is heading back out to the racing surface, as once again, your leader is the number 24. He has led the start of this event. Stan Gregor has been the only other leader as we go back to reading the lap sponsorship laps.
we left off at lap number 40. Let's pick up with 41, and obviously a good place to pick up. Stafford photo booth. Grib floor sanding brings us lap 44. D'Amico Electric, Al and Pat for lap 45. Walt Renner of the National Speed Sport News on lap 46. 47, once again from Red Nart Service Station. Doug Emack on lap 48.
The helmet is off. The West Hartford Tool and Die machine, turning in one of its best performances ever, is out of the Sizzler event. We go down to the infield area for an up-to-date report from Chuck Jeffries. Come in, Chuck, please. It appears that we are...
And if Tony Siscone can pull it off, it'll be the first time that has occurred since 1979.
Brett Bodine's machine also being worked on in the infield area. It appears that there was some severe damage done to both the front and the back of the Sherwood Industries Sherry Cup machine. Car number 28, George Brunhose, returning back to the competition. As once again, the Pontiac safety vehicle provided by the Central Connecticut Pontiac dealers will lead the field around. 30 laps are showing in this 80-lap event. 5+ laps down as we go back to green flag competition. Let's see if Spencer gets it off the fourth turn. Everybody tagging just a bit. Spencer gets the bite. He's going to lead him into turn one.
He sure does lead, but Siscone not about to give up. Tony Siscone moves right up along the outside of Spencer. They are a side by each, as they say, off of that second turn. However, Spencer is able to pull it off, and down the backstretch they go. Marty Radwick now looks underneath the 14, and Radwick spins right directly in front of Bug Stevens, and we have a wholesale collision in turn number 3.
Almost in the exact position that we previously had one in that spot. It looks like we've got some damage to the Bill Pelly, the Zapp's hot dog machine. Car number 10, the 44, the Miller Time beer car, just squeezed right there in the middle, along with the number 15 for Bob Potter, the 5, the Ernie Wilsberg car for Charlie Jazambach. The Miller Time machine makes it out of the collision. Reggie Ruggiero appears to have no severe damage done to that race car.
Sideways, directly in front of Bug Stevens. Stevens was able to make the move around, as were about 5 other cars, but they all began to slow and jack up on the binders. When that occurred, the cars a little farther back in the field had nowhere to go, and suddenly it was a wholesale skirmish in turn 3.
On Kenny Bouchard's number 55, got the back end of the Ray Miller Advanced Design Company number 01 up on the automobile, and they are working on right side tires on that car. The Bill Pelly Zab's Hot Dog, Norgard Machine Shop, number 10, has some damage done to the body. You can see some steam coming out from the car, and once again, it was just one of those unfortunate situations. He had no place to go. Satch Worley, up from Rocky Mountain, Virginia, doing a great job with the number 10. He impressed a lot of people yesterday afternoon.
We'd like to go back a few laps. First of all, a report on Stan Greger. From what we're told, the lower pulley on the engine had just fallen off. Of course, the engine done for the day, unable to continue after running in the lead. Also, as you can see, the number 5 of Charlie Jarzambek, he has some suspension damage, as did some of the other cars in the area, the number 10 of Satch Worley, and some of the other cars that were involved here up in the third turn. Now, they have Bob Powder on the hook now, the number 15. There doesn't appear to be any damage, but then again, there could be some that's hidden to my view. I thought maybe he could get back out, but as you can see, he is on the hook. To go back and talk about a few other cars also, the 61 of Richie Evans, he had a leaking oil line. Apparently they have that fixed, though he is some laps behind. Other cars involved earlier, the number 12 of Brett Bodine also having problems, but then finally going out a few laps ago with heavy suspension damage on the left.
Then all of the cars that had pitted have made it back to the racetrack, with the exception of Carl Pastriak. When he drove the car in, it appeared from our vantage point that the damage was limited to a flat right front tire. However, that crew is all over the front end of that car, and we are less than a lap now from a restart. Frank Scambato, the flagman here at Stafford, in haste, I might add, and is going to park the car for the afternoon. Carl Pastriak, out of business here in the 13th running of the Spring Sizzler at Stafford. The field now approaches turn number 3. They begin to quicken the pace. Side by side, Siscone and Spencer. Spencer with a bit of an edge, being on the bottom of the racetrack off the 4th turn. It is Jimmy Spencer with Carl Bug Stevens dropping in right behind Spencer, putting Siscone on the high side of the racetrack. It is Spencer in the lead. Siscone moving ahead by inches into second, dropping Stevens back to third. Here comes Jeff Fuller up on the outside. He moves into 4th. The man who set fast time here yesterday afternoon, Corky Cookman, now running in the 6th spot, right alongside of the 09 for Tomeno, as he and Tomeno come together in the first turn.
Corky Cookman bobbled just a bit, and that almost cost him some very valuable ground. He moves back in to contend with Jamie the Jet Tomeno, but off the 4th turn, your lead automobile is still Jim Spencer. Jeff Fuller is a car that we talked about earlier. He has done a great job so far in this event. He started in midfield competition, already up to the 4th spot. Don't count out Tony Siscone. Here comes Cookman, this time on the inside of the number 0 time. He points the car, can set it up, but it just doesn't want to follow through.
Probably the car that we really have to keep an eye on is the old master himself, Carl Bug Stevens. He is taking it nice and easy on his race car. He sits back there in the 3rd position right now. You have to keep in mind that Bug set 2nd fast time here yesterday at the Speedway and is enjoying a very comfortable ride in that 3rd spot. I think his strategy might be at this point to let Spencer and Siscone battle it out between them and let him sit back there and conserve that automobile until the closing stages of this 80-lap event.
As they head into turn number 2, Berwick, Pennsylvania's Jim Spencer gets a little bit of a tap from Tony Siscone. He wants him to know that he's there. Siscone is really doing the same type of a thing that Carl Bugsy Stevens is, just pacing himself, letting Jimmy Spencer know that he is there to contend with him anytime he wishes. So Spencer better hold on to that pattern, because if once that pattern is broken, watch out, here comes Siscone. The pattern was broken just for a moment. The halfway marker this time around, the halfway sign is given. 40 laps to go in the running of the 13th annual Spring Sizzler.
Just as you say, 40 down and 40 left to go. We are at the halfway point here at the Stafford Motor Speedway. Jimmy Spencer out of Berwick, Pennsylvania, would like to make it 2 in a row this weekend. He won at Riverside Park last night, as we find Jamie Tomeno, who is running well in the top 10, off the pace and headed for the pit area.
Jamie the Jet Tomeno has some type of mechanical problem. He went by the pit area. We thought that he would be pitting, but he is not. Corky Cookman was working around Tomeno lap after lap, David. They have singled themselves out quite a bit now. Jamie the Jet Tomeno pulls off behind the pit area, and Tomeno is out of the Spring Sizzler event.
Spencer seems to be pacing himself very, very well at this point in the race. He is taking a fine line on the speedway. He is running low. He seems to be conserving his race car, and that is important at this stage. 43 laps have been completed in this 80-lap event. Sitting right behind him, in fact, his mirror is just full of a red car being driven by Tony Siscone, and right behind Siscone is Stevens and Fuller in that order. The first 4 cars running under a blanket. There's about a 2-car difference between the Fuller automobile and the 04 of Cookman, and then about 5 car lengths back to McLaughlin.
Siscone once again knocks on heaven's door, just taps the back bumper of Jimmy Spencer, letting him know that he still has plenty of power beneath the hood of that number 14, that Raceworks built car. Kind of ironic it would be, the Spring Sizzler event being dedicated in memory of Eddie Flemke, if one of those Raceworks cars built by Ed Flemke and Ed Flemke Jr. would win this prestigious event.
It certainly would be a marvelous tribute to Ed Flemke, a man who gave so much of himself to a sport that he so dearly loved. And on a day like this, when we run the Spring Sizzler here at Stafford, we certainly do miss Steady Eddie, the leader of the Eastern Bandits. Into turn number 1. Once again, under a blanket. It is still car number 24 out of Berwick, Pennsylvania. The Norwood Subaru Reardon Gendro entry for Jimmy Spencer leading the pack. Car number 14, Tony Siscone out of Hamilton, New Jersey. Welch Farms entry runs in second. Carl Bug Stevens, the Mystic River Marina entry, car number 4, in there for the 3rd position. And the Superior Processing car number 2X for Jeff Fuller runs in the 4th spot. That's the way things stand on this Easter Sunday afternoon at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
48 laps now showing on the Winston Racing Series scoreboard in this prestigious event. Meanwhile, Carl Bugsy Stevens is putting a little bit of pressure on Tony Siscone. Siscone, once impressive battle with Jimmy Spencer, is starting to vanish just a bit. Spencer pulls away by about a car length, but once again, the handling department is not the greatest for the number 24 of Jimmy Spencer. He goes down the straightaways really, really strong, but in the turns, he seems to have a little bit of a problem, but not enough of a problem to put him for
lap number 58. Derek Allos, lap number 59. M.J. Sullivan Chevrolet, lap number 60. Danny Bennett's Hoosier Tires for 61. Nutmeg Bay Chevy Club for lap number 62. Dan Bennett brings an average of roughly 19.5 seconds here on the half mile, which would put them in an average speed of over 92 miles per hour.
92 miles an hour, consistently running lap after lap for 80 circuits. And it appears that Siscone puts a bid on it once again, uses that lower apron to his advantage. He could not do it this time, and he lost about a car length and a half in that type of a move. But he knows that the time is ticking away. There are 60 laps complete in this event now. There are only 20 laps to go. If he is going to do it, it has got to come pretty soon.
Car number 2X for Jeff Fuller, experiencing some handling problems. It could very well be tires, as he has really dropped off the pace now. He is falling back out of the top 10. Car number 2X for Jeff Fuller. Obviously running into some mechanical problems. Apparently, by the looks of it from up here, it appears to be a tire situation.
And what a job he has done this afternoon with that number 2X machine. Meanwhile, the Miller time entry comes into life. We've got a caution again. There is liquid on the racetrack. We're not sure of what car that the liquid is coming from, but there is liquid on the racetrack. And starter Frank Scambato very skillfully took note of that, bringing out the caution immediately in a situation that could have resulted in a great deal of chaos. Car number 4, Carl Bugsy Stevens, has moved out of the restart lineup and is heading to what appears to be to us the pit area. Is heading to the pits at this time.
A tough break for a competitor who has been right in the thick of things all afternoon.
And also, it looks like the man that was looking to head to the pits, he's now pulled back into his correct position, is Corky Cookman out of Green Farms, Connecticut.
Reggie Ruggiero, they had a broken oil line to the motor. A lot of oil dumped out onto the pit road when they had come in. They're out trying to fix it now. Updated reports as we go on.
Thank you, Chuck. Meanwhile, back at the OK Corral, car number 24, Jimmy Spencer continues to lead the pack here this afternoon. Another lap or two as the cars work that speedy dry in and out of the asphalt. They will be told to cross over, and we will look for a restart. Once again, 61 laps show on the Winston Racing Series scoreboard here at the Stafford Motor Speedway.
As the Central Pontiac dealer's pace car heads down to the infield, green flag comes out off the 4th turn. Spencer has now Corky Cookman to contend with. Tony Siscone has some type of mechanical problem.
Siscone is out of it as everyone scrambles to get around him. He runs up close to the wall. He is completely off the pace.
Another heartbreaker story in this Spring Sizzler event. It appears that Tony Siscone had some type of a problem with the car. He is way off the pace now. Now he is starting to run, but it is too late. Cookman and Magic Shoes Mike McLaughlin are contending with Jimmy Spencer.
The story seems to be in the back of the pack, however. The only one really pushing, running hard on the outside is car number 4 of Carl Bug Stevens as he tries to make up a lot of lost ground as a result of that pit stop.
What a story we've got shaping up right up front. Magic Shoes Mike McLaughlin, the owner of the automobile, said they can no longer compete. They are out of cash. If they don't get a sponsor, they're going to have to park the number 8. It currently sets in the number 3 position. At Thompson, it was second. McLaughlin is right there behind Corky Cookman. It is a long way from over with yet as the laps are counting down. Spencer is still your leader. Cookman and McLaughlin are really starting to work over Jimmy Spencer. Siscone is into the infield and heading back out to the racetrack.
Tony Siscone, obviously a very disappointed young man. However, he is back in the thick of things with the Welch Farms entry, the old Forenza. However, up front, the battle now rages between the 04 of Corky Cookman and the 24 of Jim Spencer. They are bumper to bumper, nose to tail, off of turn number 4, and right there is Mike McLaughlin working the back bumper of Corky Cookman. A little tap in the back, saying, "Corky, I'm here, buddy, just don't slip up." Down the back straightaway they go. Jim Spencer continuing to set the pace as he has most of the afternoon. The only person to disrupt the lead that Spencer has held since the beginning of this event was Stan Greger, who was sidelined with mechanical problems. Otherwise, the show has belonged to Jim Spencer, Mr. Excitement out of Berwick, Pennsylvania.
Spencer starts to pull away a bit. Tony Siscone has definitely a problem with car number 14. He comes into the infield area, not by the way that he is supposed to, and it appears that there is sometimes some type of a problem with the Siscone machine. We're still under green. 67 laps are showing. Spencer is being pressured by Corky Cookman. McLaughlin is right there to contend, and Brian Ross is up to the 4th spot. 5th is the number 0, Marty Radwick. 6th is Ed St. Angelo. 7th unofficially is the Frenchie's number 6 for Hirschman. 8th is Ray Miller. 9th is Stefanik, and unofficially in 10th it would be Jeff Fuller, car number 2X.
They are nose to tail, bumper to bumper, a freight train of 12 cars long as Jim Spencer, Corky Cookman, Mike McLaughlin, Brian Ross, Marty Radwick, Ed St. Angelo, Tony Hirschman, Ray Miller, Mike Stefanik lead down the front straightaway as Cookman now makes a move underneath Spencer. Spencer slams the door. They come in contact. Cookman backs off of it. He comes in contact with McLaughlin. Everybody gets straightened out. It's going to be a real barn burner at the end. Jimmy Spencer into his final 10 laps this afternoon. The man they call Mr. Excitement, showing his stuff. Hot off of a win at the Riverside Park last night, leads this field in the 13th running of the Spring Sizzler, the greatest race in the history of spring at the Stafford Motor Speedway this afternoon, as Brian Ross looks underneath the 8 of McLaughlin. He can't find the room. He drops back in and rides consistently back in the 4th spot. Now McLaughlin is underneath Cookman, and McLaughlin is sideways. He's able to gather it back, but it costs him 1, and now it costs him almost 2 positions, as Brian Ross has now taken car number 69, the courtesy Chrysler entry, into the 3rd position, and Marty Radwick almost made a move on McLaughlin. Jimmy Spencer continues to set the pace. It has been his show all afternoon. We're into the final 7 laps and 200 feet. Off the 4th turn, we'll cross the stripe, make it lap number 73 for Jimmy Spencer. Trying to make a move in the back of the pack. Drivers such as Kenny Bouchard, Bug Stevens, Jeff Fuller, Mike Stefanik, Ray Miller. All people who have celebrated wins here at the Stafford Motor Speedway in the past find themselves virtually out of contention in the closing laps. 7 laps left to go as Brian Ross bobbles very badly off of that 4th turn area. He loses a position to Radwick. Smoke now comes out from under car number 8 for McLaughlin. With only 6 laps remaining, Mike McLaughlin is out of the race. As Yogi Berra once said, it ain't over till it's over, and Spencer continues to lead. We're into lap 75. The final 5 laps of competition as Cookman looks underneath Spencer. It'll be a battle royal right to the wire. The lead cars, Jim Spencer, Corky Cookman, running virtually by themselves. It's about 6 car lengths back to the 0 of Marty Radwick. Brian Ross was able to gather things back together. He is now in 4th. 5th, the 19 of Ed St. Angelo. 6th is the 6th. Car number 6 of Tony Hirschman. Behind him, really has his hands full as he crosses the stripe, this time with the 2-lap marker up. 2 to go for Jimmy Spencer in the Spring Sizzler at Stafford. Cookman rides high on the racetrack as Marty Radwick now finds himself in trouble and he drops off the pace. Ryan Ross moves in for 3rd. 4th is now the 19 of Ed St. Angelo. We're into the white flag lap. If Cookman has got anything, he's going to have to give it now. We're into the final lap through turns 1 and 2. It is the 24 of Jim Spencer. Nice and easy. Off of that second turn. Here comes Cookman. He literally leans on Spencer bumper to bumper through turns 3 and 4. The checkered flag is waving. Off the 4th turn from Berwick, Pennsylvania, it is Jimmy Spencer, followed by the 04 of Cookman. Next in line, unofficially, the 69 of Brian Ross, followed by the 19 of Ed St. Angelo, the 6 of Hirschman, the 11 of Stefanik, the 01 of Miller, the 2X of Fuller, and the 4 of Carl Bugs Stevens. Jimmy Spencer down in Winston Victory Lane being greeted by track promoter Ed Yarrington. His crew, the track photographers, they have all converged upon the Spencer automobile. Let's go trackside now, and Ben Dodge. Ben?
Ladies and gentlemen, down in Victory Lane, everybody just ecstatic over Jimmy Spencer, who's on a hot streak. He won last night. He pulls off the winning of the greatest race in the history of spring. His dad gives him a hug to indicate that he is the winner as we head over to the Winston Victory.
Here while we're trying to fix our communications problem. Lap 66, the Racers Flea Market. 67, MJ
has won the 13th annual Spring Sizzler. Jimmy Spencer, you got to be pretty pleased with this one. You led the event in the early going. Stan Greger took over the lead. It was definitely not an easy win. You had a lot of pressure from competitors like Tony Siscone right there to contend with you, along with in the closing laps of competition right there behind you was Corky Cookman of the 04.
Yeah.
You're on a hot streak now. The car seemed to perform exceptionally well. Can you tell us a little bit about the event?
Well, I'll tell you, it was so important today to start up front. The track got real slick out there today, and that's what I felt there wasn't going to be a lot of passing, and I was really happy that I did start up front. The car worked perfect. I got a bunch of guys, they work hard at it. And I'll tell you, Ron Hutter supplies the horsepower, and if it wasn't for that today, I think that's what really won the race. And Maynard Troyer puts a heck of a chassis together because it proved it last night and proved it today. Even when they're not handling perfect, if you can put the pedal down, you still can win.
Jimmy Spencer, you are a very aggressive driver. There's no question about that. You remember the first time you visited the Stafford Motor Speedway during a Sizzler weekend. You won the hearts of the race fans in the non-qualifiers event. Last night you told us you really wanted this one. This one was a special one for you.
Well, this is the biggest race in New England as far as I'm concerned because miles that's ran and the money that's up and the prestige. Look at the guys that won the race. Richie Evans, Greg, Eddie Flemke, Maynard, all of them. And that puts you in the elite when you win a race like this. I mean, this is something else. I mean, this race as high as my Cam 2 race last year.
There's no question about it. There's a lot of special people on your crew, and we want to thank them for their support and help of Jimmy Spencer.
Well, I'll tell you, Eddie Gendro and Paul Reardon, they said they wanted to get somebody that could win some races for them. They wanted an aggressive driver. And I told them I could do it, just supply the car and stuff. And I want to get Eddie up here now because he deserves this trophy. He always wanted to win something big. And I says, I'm going to do it for you. And he's here today.
Eddie, why don't you come over here, please? Come on over here. Gentleman who is the sponsor of the automobile. Eddie, if you'd slip down to this end, please, so we can have a brief word with you. You have to be exceptionally pleased with the performance here. After last season, you were involved with the race car that won a feature event here at the Speedway. Now you come back with Jimmy Spencer. Is that true, the story he just told us? You wanted somebody aggressive that could get the job done, and Jimmy Spencer filled out that card nicely?
That's right. Yeah, I love to watch Jimmy race.
He certainly is exciting. You have to be pleased with not only the performance of the car, but the entire work that the crew has done for it and putting you into the winner's circle here at Stafford.
I couldn't be happier.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got the big trophies down here, which indicates that Jimmy Spencer is the winner of the event. In the beautiful Easter wreath that's around him to indicate that, Pat Spencer, his lovely wife, thrilled with the winning of the occasion. We're going to get his dad and the rest of them over here in the winner's circle as we have several additional presentations to make, along with the second and third place competitors we'll be calling up next. You had the courtesy Chrysler machine looking very impressive. Handshake to Pat and Jimmy Spencer. The car was looking really, really strong going into the event. You seemed to consistently run right up front and pace yourself throughout the event. Was that your strategy, pacing yourself during this 80-lap feature?
Well, it's really my strategy in all the longer distance events. Today we had a little problem. We started out and we got a little bit too much stagger in the car, so we had to come in and change the right rear tire. And then we came back in a second time and decided that since we changed the right rear, we'd go with both rear new. And it really paid off for us. We picked away all day, stayed out of trouble. That was hard to do a couple times, but all I can say is thanks to Wayne Miller, the owner of the car, Ed Close, and all his crew for sponsoring the car. They do a tremendous job of preparing the car for me. Makes my job easy. I hope all you fans enjoyed the race.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Ross, the gentleman that finished in the number 3 position in the courtesy Chrysler machine. Z&J Toyota car, as we were waiting for Corky Cookman at this time, really gave him a run for the money this afternoon. Late in the event, you were right there to contend, right down to the checker. You have to be pleased, a little bit disappointed, I'm sure, that you didn't take down the number 1 spot, but number 2 isn't bad, and you definitely won the hearts of the race fans with that impressive number 2 finish.
Well, thank you very much, Ben. We're happy to run second, but it would have been nicer to win. I really want to thank all the people that helped on the car today, especially. There were quite a few people from Southern New England Egg and BJ Dolan, Bubby's Race Chasers. I could go on forever. There are a lot of people that work on the cars and never get any recognition. The driver gets it all. He doesn't really deserve that much, but I really appreciate all the help everybody gave me.
Corky, during the original laps of the event, as we go back to the start of the event, you were working your way just into the top 10. You had to work the outside. Did that create a problem with you in the tire situation in the early goings? We know that you were among the first cars to go to the outside and try to contend there. And then in the later laps of the event, you seemed to be a strong contender, but do you think you might have used up some of that rubber in the early goings?
Well, no, the outside of the racetrack wasn't very good early. It got a little better later on, but then after one of the motors was blown and it got a lot of speed dry on it, wasn't very good. But I had real good tires at the end. I think I had better tires than either of the other 2 guys that finished first, second, and third. But it's tough to get around, and when the speedy dry gets there isn't much left. And when cars don't work well at the end of the race, it's very hard to pass without wrecking, and I have to be very careful not to wreck because I don't have the money to fix a car.
That's right. Very, very interestingly enough, that these competitors down in Victory Lane here also were looking for additional sponsorship and additional help besides some of the sponsors that they already have. Corky Cookman, your car seemed to perform exceptionally well as a fine independent runner in the running of this Spring Sizzler event. You were running number 2 in the Winston Regional point standings. You might have moved in closer or possibly into that number 1 spot. Are you chasing those Winston Regional points?
No, not at all. Point chasers are basically for people with good backing and lots of help, and we don't have either one of those, so we can just run the races that are close to home. And fortunately, the first couple that were close to home were the first ones this year, and that's why we were second points. It was only coincidental.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll let those gentlemen have their photos together for just 1 second, and we've got some additional awards to present.
And who won the first Sizzler, and that, of course, is Freddie DeCero. An annual award is presented to the driver by Lenny Boulder and the DeCero crew, the folks that worked on the car that Freddie drove, to the driver who best embodies the spirit of competition and the type of racing that we would have seen from Freddie had he been here today. Bill Sloboda of the Len Boulder DeCero crew will announce the choice.
Well, Fred DeCero truly was an extraordinary individual, both on and off the track. And there were many outstanding performances today. But we felt that the most outstanding performance that most closely reflected Fred's level of accomplishment and achievement on the track should go to Corky Cookman.
There's a trophy and there's a permanent plaque that'll be awarded. The permanent plaque is in the clubhouse. It's got Fred's name on it, the other fellows that have won this award. And Corky, talking to the fellows that as they voted on this, and it was a tough choice. I think the thing that stood out among the guys on Freddie's crew, and I think we're all a little choked up about this, among these guys is the fact that you had several opportunities to take a real good, strong shot at the fella in the lead, but that's not the way you get around here.
Well, no, I mean, Jimmy worked and led most of the race, and he used every opportunity to keep me behind him, and I guess I probably would have done the same thing.
Well, congratulations on a fine run. It was a strong second place, and you did everything but drill him out of the lead.
Thank you very much, Mike.
The next special presentation to be presented is the Old Man Engineering Contingency Award, $100 going to the first place finisher to cross the line, and $50 to the second place car that crosses the line using an Old Man Engineering transmission and proudly displaying the decals on both sides. This very, very special and cherished award, I'll be stepping down to let them in. And as we said, such a tragic loss to all of auto racing people as they are sadly grieved by this special, beautiful silver cup to be presented in memory of Ed Flemke by his loving family to Jimmy Spencer for taking down the win here in this prestigious 13th annual Spring Sizzler. Photos now being taken at this time, and as we said, such a tragic loss. All of us salute all of the accomplishments and the achievements and how special that Ed Flemke had blessed all of our lives. And this traditionally will be carried on as Jimmy Spencer is about to open the champagne. And now coming up next, our lovely Miss Speedway scene. Moving into the photos next, you got a little bit of champagne on her. Our lovely Miss Speedway scene, one of our prize winners at the Racer Ribbon. Jimmy, she's got to give you the official victory kiss as Carolyn Flemke and the rest of the Flemke girls at this particular time. Jimmy Spencer taking a couple of more photos, and he'll be heading up to the press box for the interviews with the media people. And we'll go back up to the announcer's tower as Russ Dowd will give you the official rundown once it has been compiled. Ladies and gentlemen, we certainly hope that you've enjoyed the 13th annual Spring Sizzler here with us this afternoon. Jimmy Spencer posing with Miss Speedway scene before he'll be heading to the media booth at the top for interviews with our media and press people. Thank you, and we'll get the official finish and rundown from Russ Dowd in our announcer's tower in just a few moments.
Thank you very much, Ben. We would like to give you a couple of other things before we give you that rundown. First of all, Robin Hennessy. Robin Hennessy, please report to the